iLEAD presents to you Future Vista New Age Careers.
Now coming to the session today, exploring new horizons of data science. Data is the new oil and data is the new wealth, stated by Mukesh Ambani, Chairman, Reliance Industries. Nowadays, data has become the most valuable asset for every organization, industry and government. The excitement in data science is in the journey towards achieving three significant kinds of results: discovery, insights, and innovation. It's a journey from known to unknown that you have to make using your skill set. In the new era, which compromises technologies like AI, IoT, and cloud computing, the role of data scientists have become a very vital in every possible fields, starting from engineering to management, to manufacturing, to banking, to retail, to healthcare, and many more. With companies increasingly releasing the true potential of data scientists, jobs in this field are expected to skyrocket in the near future. As per US Bureau of Labor Statistics, the world will witness huge growth in data science related jobs, almost about 11.5 million jobs by 2026.
Just look what data science has done. In the same dais, me, my professor, and my student. So data science actually transcends all the barriers. Speaking about data science, actually, today I thought that I will speak as less as possible, and my esteemed panelist will give you the insights of whatever data science is. But I want to tell you a story first, before I start the session. When Barack Obama was selected as American president, just before a couple of months, Barack Obama asked the engineering team of US, give me some places where I can go and address the audience so that the number of votes will increase for me and he will actually win the election, right? So data scientists then are not that much famous, okay? So they come up with some solutions. They actually give them the city names where they should go, and ultimately what happened we all know. It's a watershed moment, okay? And Barack Obama wins the election significantly. And from then on, actually, the investment in data science increased by 300%, right? 300%. Actually, I am also today curious to know what it makes data science so special. So now I want to know all about data science. So I will start with Amlan sir. Any insights about data science? But why at all we are so curious about data science, sir?
My journey of data science, that means might started later than what we have panelists like Saptarsi and Sourav, okay? Because they were in industries, they were working with database like this, okay? And we were teaching in the universities, right? Not really getting into the exciting applications of data science. But my journey of data science started from 2009, right? When I was pulled into a different problem, which you might not be so much okay, knowing that domain. So that was the domain of physics. So what I was pulled in an international consortium in Germany called GSI Helmholtz Research Laboratory, right? It's a lab in Darmstadt, Germany, and it's a collaboration with Department of Atomic Energy, Government of India, right? So what was the lab was doing? The lab was actually trying to find out the particles in matter, right? And that means I am not a physicist in that sense, but what they were doing, they were trying to know that what are the different particles, what are their energy emissions, and the purpose was that whether we can control the nuclear energy, because we know that energy is so important for all of us, right, to drive our day-to-day devices. So nuclear energy, okay, is the energy which is future or which is already there. So in that lab, the focus was, my role was, that means, so what was happening, the system was that they were generating the collisions, and in the collisions, lot of particles emitted. They had detectors, right, which would catch the energy of the particles, converted it to some sort of signal, right, and pass the data back to the grid. Okay, pass the data back to the grid so that the analysis can be done, right? Why? Because the event rate is 10 to the power minus 9. Means 10 to the power 9 events occur in 1 second. So you cannot do any sort of real-time analysis. So whatever that means, similarly different, that means, so I visited CERN also in 2015. So what happens actually, you see the important issue in this particular is that you have to analyze the data in the sense that what was the charge of the particle, right? What was the detector it hit, in what timestamps. There are layers of detectors. So you record the timestamp, you record the energy at different detection points at the detectors, and from that you have to generate the energy cycle, and from that you have to know that what type of particle was actually emitted, whether it's a fermion, whether it is a boson, whether it is an alpha, different particles are there. So you see that the impact of data analysis, right, actually first hit me in that way, right, in that particular, being a part of that particular team, right. I was leading the team from University of Calcutta. So our challenge was that why we will take the data back to the grid and process. Why not we can do at least certain processing, right, at least clustering online. So the data is in form of the signals, right, converted to some digital values, voltage values with timestamp, right, and with their detector pad information. Detector pad is some sort of localization. So you have to track the pads in the different time instances, and you have to try to find the clusters out of and try to find that what type of similar particles emerged, right? And all these have to be done using a particular process which we have to build up. So this was a big challenge for us. So that was one exposure for me, data science. So you see that data science tries to understand the very deep knowledge of science, right? Then I worked with multiple projects. Okay, that means the next project was computer-aided diagnosis, where we worked with with hospitals like PLS, the NIOH, National Institute of Orthopedic Health, the Park Clinic. So where we understood the need of data science in terms of helping the doctors. Okay, so it means that so you capture the different radiology images, you try to abstract the features of radiology images, and from the features whether you can classify certain deformities. Maybe it's a lung nodule, okay, maybe it's a tumor in your spine, maybe it's a lesion in your brain, right? So can this be automated? Okay, and not only detection, can we further go? Can we actually go for risk analysis? Okay, which is a sort of prediction that this is the amount of disease, which has been which we can actually label to the particular deformity. And now if you look into the data science lab, right, at our University of Calcutta, we are doing different activities, right? Okay, it's the energy studies are there. That means we are trying to forecast on renewable energy. We are working on health. We are working on text analytics. We are also, that means, one of my background is quantum computing also. So we are also looking at how quantum computers can be useful. Okay, because that is a new domain of paradigm, which is quantum computers, where we can do a superscale processing compared to a present classical processing. We do superscale processing, and superscale processing is required because when you try to work with large amount of data, and the present day data science works with the deep networks, so we have a lot of processing to be done on the data. Okay, so the volume of data and the number of the execution threads you have to handle is quite large in the present scale of data science. So whether quantum computing can also go to that. So you see that means my journey, if I say my journey so what I say, a professor is always a student, because first we have to learn, then we have to teach to the students, and then you have to scale up to give some sort of more knowledge to the domain. So first you have to learn a domain in a sense, and then you have to try to share the knowledge. right? And then you have to contribute to the knowledge.
Now I will come to Sir Sourav sir. What kind of jobs are available and what kind of job roles are available in the industry? But actually, what kind of skill set a student should have so that he can be a good data scientist? Because you are from industry, sir. I am asking you about that. Okay, sir.
So I'll come to your question, but before that, I'll just set the context of what exactly the industry is looking for, or what kind of problems we are trying to solve. So I think one point which came out when Professor Dr. Chakrabarti was speaking is that obviously there are data science applications in all kinds of industries today. Whether it's healthcare, whether it's retail, whether it's manufacturing, aviation. So there are a lot of data science applications. And in fact, what has happened over the last 2 years is, we are using a particular term in the industry for that. We are calling it a digital compression. So what that means is the level of digital transformation that under normal circumstances we were expecting to happen, let's say in the next 5 or 7 years. Thanks to the pandemic, all of that happened in a space of 2 years, or even lesser, 1.5 years maybe. So this is what we are calling as a digital compression. So the upside of the pandemic, given the fact that it was obviously a very tragic incident, for mankind, but I think the upside was that, from a digital transformation perspective, it accelerated a lot of things. So industries were forced to go digital. And I'll give you, some very basic examples which you can very easily relate to. I will try and not make it very complex because, I know all of you are still in the journey. So I'll make sure that, you understand some of these core concepts. So the fundamental thing that has happened over the last couple of years is sales have gone online, right? So for a very long period of time, retail stores were closed. People were not able to move out of their homes. But at the same time, they needed essential commodities, they needed essential services, so people were going online. So sales have shifted online. So what that means is, every company today needs to have very sophisticated capabilities and infrastructure and technology to make sure that they are able to track their sales, to track the fulfillment of orders, to track the distribution of all the orders, to track customer satisfaction. I mean, pretty much everything we are purchasing through mobile apps today, right? And every app will have some of these features. So you get real-time updates, like the delivery person, how far is he away from your house? When you order something on Swiggy or Zomato, for example. So you have that real-time tracking that, your order has been picked up from this shop, the person is on the road, he's like 10 minutes away, and so on. So there is an online tracking of the movement of order delivery. And then, there is this whole question of customer satisfaction. You give a rating of the whole delivery process. So sales have gone online. The other important thing that has happened over the last couple of years is the supply chains, have been disrupted because different countries had different levels of disruption when it came to COVID, right? So some countries were hit pretty bad. Some countries were hit pretty bad, but then they recovered quickly. Some countries took longer time to recover. So if you look at the global supply chain of products and services, that also got disrupted. And what that meant is you needed a stronger monitoring and control over all of your supply chain as well. So the sales has gone online, supply chain has been disrupted. Now the third important thing that has happened over the last couple of years is that the space has become extremely competitive. Any area you look at today, there are multiple apps who are giving you the same kind of service. You look at communication, right? I mean, you look at transportation. So there is Uber, there is Ola. There are also a lot of local, service providers who are coming up. So the space is becoming extremely competitive. You look at food delivery, right? You have Swiggy, you have Zomato. Not only that, a lot of these restaurants today, they have their own apps by which you can order food. And, there is home delivery of your food, which means everybody is taking the online route to do that. So what that means is today as a business, I suddenly have too many competitors around me. And that whole process was accelerated because of the pandemic. Every business became a digital business, right? So which means that I also need a lot of competitive intelligence. So if I have multiple competitors and I need to succeed in that market, I need a lot of intelligence about my competitors. So I have to capture the data, I have to process the data, I have to understand how my competitors are performing, which again has increased the scope of data and analytics, right? Which essentially translates into data science. So every business today has to invest in infrastructure. And again, when we talk of infrastructure, it is not just, a data center that you have in your own premises. So that's why almost every business today is going to cloud. So they are setting up their infrastructure and their data centers on the cloud, right? Because it's comparatively cheaper, it's easier to procure, and all of that. So cloud is becoming extremely important, and cloud technologies are in very high demand in all sectors and all segments of the industry today. We talked about data science. In all of the use cases that I talked about, you have to capture lots of data, and data coming in real time, huge volumes of data, at very high speed. So you have to capture and process the data in real time and make sense out of that data in real time. Dipankar, coming to your question. So now today when a company wants to hire somebody, there are broadly two kinds of people that we look at. One are the freshers, people who are just coming out of campus. Let's say, if you are doing a bachelor's course in data science and then you are looking for a job, so you belong to a certain category. And then there are people who are more experienced, who have been in the industry for, let's say, 10, 15, 20 years. So that's the other segment. Now, for the higher segment of people, who have been in the industry for, a certain amount of time and who have worked for different client organizations, who have experience in implementing some of these programs, the requirements are more around how do you define some of these use cases for data science. So when you walk into a client organization and the client says that, look, I want to capture tons of data about my own processes and a lot of internal data. I'm also capturing data from the environment, right? So from, let's say, IoT devices, I'm capturing data from social media, I'm capturing competitor intelligence, and how do I make sense out of the data? So somebody who has been in the industry for, let's say, 10, 15, 20 years, the expectation is that you should be able to guide the client on what kind of use cases the client should implement from a data science perspective. And then, of course, how do you implement that technically? So that's the thing. I broadly break it up, the data science skills, into 4 broad categories. So the bottommost layer, which is the foundational layer, is what I call data engineering. So what is data engineering? Data engineering is the process of capturing, curating, and processing the data which will be used for analysis. So today you walk into an enterprise, they have tons of applications which are already running in the enterprise. They have a CRM system, they have a supply chain management system, they have an HR system. So there are lots of applications which are already running in an enterprise. So your first step would be to consolidate the data. So you capture the data from different systems, you consolidate in one place, you clean the data, you process the data, you apply the required transformations which are needed in the data, and maybe you put that in a, maybe in a data lake, or today we are also looking at a different concept called data lake house, but I do not want to digress into a lot of technical details. But essentially, you need a repository of good data. So that is what I call data engineering. So one set of skills which would be in very high demand are skills around data engineering, and there are a lot of people who are focusing on some of these areas like data integration, data quality, data governance, data management. They would obviously be in very high demand. The next layer is basically, now that you have got the data, you have consolidated the data across the enterprise, you have cleaned it up, you have curated it, you have processed it. Now you need to analyze the data, right? So you make sense out of the data, you derive insights out of the data. So this is where you need a lot of analytics skills. And that's where you have a lot of tools. So there are 2 parts to this, right? So first of all, the technology side. So there are a lot of analytics tools which are available in the market today. There is R, and there are a lot of these other packages. But like Dr. Chakrabarti explained, the tooling is one part of it. But in order to make sense of the data, ideally you should have some kind of an analytical mindset. And knowledge in statistics would definitely be a big plus, right? Because you can use a tool to, let's say, have some kind of a time series analysis of the data. But if you also understand what time series analysis really means, or if you understand what does correlation really mean, correlation between 2 sets of data, it makes it easier for you to interpret the results from the tool, and also in order to take an informed decision. And the third layer then is, how you present the data, because that is again becoming extremely, extremely important. In fact, one of the big trends that we have seen in the industry is that data science and all of these different skills are no longer the sole concern of the IT part of an organization. So for a very long time, what used to happen was every company would have, the normal functions like the marketing function, the sales function, finance, HR, and then you also have an IT department. So IT would be, a set of guys sitting in a room, very big servers all around. And these are the guys who are actually concerned with collecting data, publishing the reports, reporting back to the management and all of that. So those days are gone now. Every department within an organization, whether it is sales or marketing or finance, everybody wants real-time insights of the data. The person who's responsible for, let's say, customer relationship, he needs to know in real time that a particular customer is unhappy with my service and he is planning to leave me and go to my competitor. So I have to retain him at any cost. So maybe, I will give him a discount, or I'll put a scheme in front of him so that he doesn't leave me. And the customer relationship manager needs to know this at real time. He cannot wait for a month-end report which will come from IT and it will tell him that, so-and-so customer has already left us. So this information is needed real time. Or, somebody who's responsible for sales needs to know in real time that a particular customer is, maybe he supplies to a particular customer, commodities. And, when the stock is finished, the customer will reorder. So the sales manager needs to know in real time that the person is almost at 70-80% of his capacity and now I must, replenish the stock. So bottom line is all these capabilities have to be in the hands of business and not IT. And when you talk of business, these are people who are not technical people. They are not people who can code. They are not people, who can go to, very complex dashboards. So all the dashboards and charts and reports have to be business friendly so that, even a business user who's a non-technical person can make sense out of that. So then what does it mean for the data scientist? It means that the data that you have captured and processed and all the analysis you have done, you have to present it in an intuitive manner. Intuitive is the key word here. So this is where, there are things like, intuitive user interfaces, which, even a non-technical person can very easily understand. So that's the third set of very important skill which is needed. And you would be surprised at the focus only this area has, the area which we call data visualization, which is how do you visualize the data? How do you see it in front of you? So there was a time, when you used to have very standard reporting tools like, Cognos, and some of these tools which are, canned reports which used to come. But today you have tools like Tableau, you have Click, you have Google has a tool called Looker, and a lot of these are available for free demo. Just go on site, go online, and you can even run short projects on this. So Google has a tool called Looker. AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, they have a tool called QuickSight, right? And there are other very interesting tools which are coming up. There is in fact a tool called ThoughtSpot. There is a tool called Domo, right? So what ThoughtSpot does is it gives you a Google-like interface where any business user in a company can go and he can search about something and all the analytics results would show up. It's like a Google-like interface. So there's a lot of focus on these kind of technology. That's the third. And the fourth, which is the topmost layer, where, like I said, some of the more experienced industry people would come in. That is where you apply this knowledge and these insights to solve a practical business problem. And that is where, the business experience is needed. And that's where probably, most of the experienced people are hired. But I think for people coming out of the campus, focus on these three broad areas. How do you capture, curate, and process data, which is data engineering? How do you analyze the data, make sense out of the data? Third is how do you present the results of that analysis?
Now I want to go to our online panelist, esteemed panelist, another Sourav Mukherjee sir. What is once again the same questions actually? What is there in data science that actually so much craze it's all about? And sir, what are the skill sets basically a student should have so that he get a good opportunity in the market?
I will not get into the technicalities. I will just talk about the business side of it. So few years back, there was a study by one of the supermarket chain in the US, and they saw one thing that on a particular day, the sale of diaper and sale of beer going high at the same time. And these two products are not at all related to each other, right? And then they realized, when they delved deep into it, they realized that what was happening was, on Friday night, working dads, they were picking up both the items, and then they were going back home, or watching sports with some friends. Now, when they realized that, they put the two things together, and then the magic happened. The sale of both the things went high. So a few years back, like 2019, I believe, the Hotstar sales team, I mean, their sales lead, they reached out to us and they said that, we have a problem. The problem is, we have the highest, the most costly revenue generating ads. We place them towards the end of the game because the viewership is maximum. Now the game suddenly ends early. We cannot show those ads. So, and it may sound simple, but they were losing around 50 million US dollar per year in one IPL, session. So the objective of the problem is to predict just when a match has started, can I predict when the innings will end? So we did that, and we found that there is a significant impact in that. And one interesting area that we found that in IPL or cricket, we have the concept of power play, right? So in the first 6 overs you can play. When we did a little bit of inferential analytics, which is also called causal analytics, or diagnostic analytics, we realized that the more you play fast, and this is particularly applicable for the first innings of a game, the more you play fast in the first 6 overs, your probability of ending the innings goes high. And that's the biggest problem, because in the first innings, you have to play the entire innings. That means you are not playing the entire innings. That is bad, right? So although the format of the game is actually provoking you to make risky shots, you should not do that. So when we, this is counterintuitive. So when we told this to the, the people over there, they were like, really, in fact, Sanjay Manjarekar was, the cricketer was there. So they were like, they really liked it. Now, one of the problems that I will tell you, we are all talking about the good things of data science. Few years back, Amazon had a software, and the software was actually, you can apply for jobs online. The software will actually rate you. It will parse your CV, rate you based on something, and then send the ratings code to the HR department. Then they will basically call you depending on the score. The problem was that, what was happening, and it is a systematic gender discrimination was happening. Women were applying for technical roles and they were getting rejected. Why? Because the data was trained on a male-dominated, data set, and predominantly the tech was male-dominated, right? So the data was trained on a set which was already skewed. So the algorithmic bias is very important. We have to keep in mind, something like that. And another interesting thing I will just tell you, in a similar line, it was a very interesting journal that came out a few years back that, the countries which consume more chocolates have more Nobel laureates. So then the theory that was proposed is chocolate has cocoa, and that means it has flavonoids. Flavonoids increase the cognitive activity of the brain. That was the theory that was proposed. Then they realized, no, tea and wine, which also has flavonoids, there is no correlation between tea drinker and Nobel laureates. Then when they probe more into the data, they realize that they are missing a very important factor, which is GDP. And it was GDP, countries which has more GDP was actually having more chocolate consumption. At the same time, countries which are having more GDP was having more Nobel laureate, which makes perfect sense because they were investing in research and infrastructure. So correlation is not causation. So that's a very important thing. Understanding the business will be extremely important in case of, because soon what will happen is, all this tool, they will be commoditized because of auto ML and low code, so many things coming to the picture, but the business, they cannot really automate data engineering. They cannot really automate the business understanding part. So I believe these two skill sets will be definitely there, till 10, 15 years from now. It will always be there.
Now I come to Saptarsi sir. What kind of things a student should learn, and in what areas actually data science, after doing a course in data science, student can do their jobs, and the current employability. What is the employability actually, the scope in the market?
Data science, you have realized, is it starts from the classroom, okay, but then you will have to calm down and start doing things. So one of the layers which Sourav mentioned was the data integration layer, okay, and with all these what I would say lucrative things of tools and algorithms and everything, if you look at recent surveys, 80% of the effort goes into making the data clean. I have been working with data maybe from 2005, okay, after maybe 2-3 years, a short stint in application development. And 2007, I was given a responsibility of a healthcare data warehouse, and the size of the data at that point of time was in terabytes. And it was hugely challenging, okay, to go through that data, because you'll write queries, that queries will take 10 minutes to execute, right? So that was the size of the data, right? And we didn't have enough good documentations, okay? So from there, we went very basics, look at first counts and what is the quality of the data for each of the attributes. And slowly we went back to client and told, if this is the quality of the data, we cannot take it to upstream and do other processing. And we did several corrections from there. Now, you ask the students to apply clustering, you give them any data, okay? They will apply clustering and come back. See, sir, these are the clusters, okay? Probably the data has no clustering tendency at all. It was a random data someone has generated and given to you.
Now I will come to my student, one of my most, what I can say, I am proud of students, Subhodeep. I want to know from Subhodeep that you are also working in the field of master data or something. So please share your experience, that what you are working on and what students should know so that they can grow in future in the field of data science.
I worked on master data management platform. So basically it is every project and every company has some data which is changed in very less time. So we called it as a master data. So like in college, what we have the student name, department name, HOD, principals. So all this is considered as a master data, which is very likely to change. So we are basically deals with this kind of data. And for if we consider as a big organization like in the automobile industry or in energy based industry, those master data are in very huge volume. So we basically deals with those huge number of data. So nowadays what is happening, that as Sourav said, that after the pandemic, I don't know about other areas, but technology has increased in much higher level. So what is happening due to that? We are using our mobile phones in much better way and in much higher way. So data is increasing day by day. So we need some people in every industry to capture those data and to process the data to give us a better insight about it. So we call those people as a data scientist. Without data scientists, there is a huge demand of data scientists in our current world. So if I can tell you, before the pandemic starts and after the pandemic, there is almost 50% increase of the data scientist job openings in India only.
It was a very exciting one. It was very good to see a lot of students so enthusiastic about data science, about the opportunities that exist in the industry, about their career plans. I think it was very exciting interacting with the students as well. There were a lot of good questions, and my best wishes to all the students in their career, and I wish that they have a fantastic career in data science.
So it was a very nice session on new horizons of data science, and these type of sessions are very, very important for the students because it gives them these practical tidbits. Okay, so it's beyond the classroom session, and they can give them practical guidance. I really thank iLEAD for organizing such kind of events, and I wish all the best to the students as well as the institute.
We discussed about the focus of data science at present, the skill sets required, right? How the industry is looking over the data science at present and the futuristic view, right? How holistic it is, how interdisciplinary it is, right? What are the job requirements, how a student should shape up, right, in terms of utilizing the various publicly domain data sets like Kaggle and other example data sets. And I hope that this particular panel discussion will influence a student a lot in framing their future career in data science.
Yeah, it's a very good session. So it's a very interactive session with students. So we encourage this kind of session every year so the student can get real life experience from the panelists. And I wish all of them should get a job and a very prospective career in future.
Hey everyone, this is Aryan Ali Malik, and I want to say that this workplace is very innovative and expertise. A lot of expertise have come, and you get to know more of these panelists who came from different sectors of their department.
This session was very interactive and very informative at the same time. I am pursuing BSc in data science, and I wanted to know about the future careers that we will have, the future options, and this session provided it all. So thank you iLEAD for organizing such a beautiful event. Thank you.